plate carrier versus chest rig for preppers. Is Magic Prepper wrong? Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. I'm wrote notes down about Magic Prepper's video that he posted yesterday about which is best, plate carriers like this or chest rigs like this, or I'll show you another one also. There are different options, there are different reasons for having them, strengths and weaknesses of all of them. But was he wrong? We'll talk about that. So let me grab my notes and talk about plate carriers versus chest rigs for preppers. Like I said, Magic Prepper's video yesterday. Check out his channel. Good stuff there. Good dude. Doing good work. So check out his channel, subscribe, do all the things there also. And while I'm talking about that, please subscribe, ring the notification bell for all. Hit that thumbs up, share the videos, comment below. Let me know what you think about this and have conversations about what you guys think are best. There's a lot of stuff out there because it really depends, like most things. All right, so he went over different categories. So I'm going to cover those categories, kind of what he said and whether I agree or disagree with him. His first category was home defense. He said plate carrier. I'm going to agree because if you are defending your home, you don't care about weight really. You don't care about mobility really. You are in a closed environment. You're not having to go out, put on a pack, and go out hiking in the woods for miles. Okay, so weight doesn't really matter. As long as you're physically capable of putting a plate carrier on, moving around your house with it, which if you have a plate carrier, you need to be. At least that level. All right, so I agree with him there. And to further upon that, in any kind of situation where you're going to be in CQB, close quarter battle, close quarter combat, those kind of things, where those environments are very, very high threat, very dangerous. I would not recommend CQB for anybody, for preppers. If you can avoid the situation, do it. If you don't have to go into that room or into that building, don't. Now, if it's to save a family member, okay, then you may have to. But I would avoid CQB, CQC totally, as much as possible. It's very dangerous. Odds are you or somebody else will die. All right, so especially if you keep it up over a long term, they will die, period. So plate carrier for CQB, home defense, those kind of things. All right, reconnaissance, he was talking about, or long range patrolling, those kind of things. Well, you're going to say that's a no-brainer, chest rig. Yes, chest rig, because like he said, ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain. And not more than just that though. It's not just about the weight, it's about, it is, but it's how it affects your mobility and your speed. If you are out patrolling over long periods of time, you'll get worn out and you won't be able to patrol effectively because you will be tired, you'll be exhausted, all these things, so your mental state will degrade. You won't be able to keep as close eye on things, you'll miss things because you'll get tired faster. So that's another thing that I'm adding that he didn't really talk about, but then again, you know, he has a lot of good stuff, but he doesn't have military experience. But as preppers, we're not talking about being in the military. So that's another thing. Get away from the idea that you're G.I. Joe or Call of Duty or something like that, and you're going to be some, army man running around. No, you're preppers. We are all preppers. Now, if you are military or you're prior military, that's a different story. You know more about this kind of stuff and what choices to make when. All right, so yeah, weight, mobility, and speed. All right, patrolling, not long-range patrolling, it's going to the next category. Patrolling your property, your neighborhood. Also, guard duty. Say you're sitting in LPOP or a fixed fighting position, which is a listening post, observation post, which is where you sit out somewhere and you listen to what's going around, you observe, and you can report back to let people know what's coming. Or fixed fighting position, where you are manning a gun post and you will be defending something. Defensive situations are almost always plate carrier because mobility isn't an issue. You're not having to carry that weight over long periods of time. Speed isn't necessarily an issue in close-in type stuff. Around your home, around your neighborhood, that kind of stuff. So yes, plate carrier wins over that. Cost was his next category. Well, chest rig wins that category any day because so this plate carrier is a Condor Elite LCS Vanquish plate carrier. It's a laser cut system. I love this setup. I did some personal modifications to it. Got videos about that on Patreon. If you want to check that out, links in the description below. $1 a month, lots of good content. Talk about a lot of tactical stuff there. And this is what plate carrier was about. I think it was about 90 bucks, 100 bucks. And then but modifications and stuff like that. It's a lot more money in this plate carrier. This is a Condor. I forget which model it is, but it holds the 6 mags across the front and molly for you to add other stuff. This is my long range chest rig, or my Minuteman chest rig, long range reconnaissance, patrolling, that kind of stuff. Then, like I mentioned, I do want to mention another thing, which it'll come up again in another part of this video. But minimalist chest rig. All it is 3 mags and a knife. Very, very lightweight, very thin, very comfortable. I can do anything I want in this all day long, every day. So that's an option. This is also a Condor, and it's just a panel, molly panel, and you put the mag pouches on it. The mag pouches are Condor. That one, forget how much that one cost. The other one, 40, 50 bucks-ish. This is probably 30-ish. And, you know, mag pouch and stuff like that are additional costs, but you got to do that anyway for a plate carrier or chest rig. So cost, chest rig weighs out. If you are very limited in budget, chest rig may be your only option, honestly. That could be just the end of the discussion right there. So if money is a big hurdle for you, then probably chest rig. All right, Gray Man. Here's where I have a little bit of a disagreement with Magic Prepper. Not that we're not still brothers, and I'll still love him. Gray Man, plate carrier or chest rig. He mentioned the plate carrier, you can run it slick. You know, you don't have to have all the mags on it and stuff like that. If you're in a Gray Man situation, you wouldn't be carrying a long defensive tool anyway. You'd be carrying a single handheld one. So you wouldn't need all the mags, okay? Or a chest rig, you might not necessarily need the Freedom Seat holders either. So it's kind of it's a disagreement, not a disagreement, because you could run it slick, but honestly, the thickness of the plates is still going to make the plate carrier more bulky. So it really depends on time of year. It depends on the situation. Like I said, it depends. It depends on lots of things. It depends on the environment. If you're in winter, then yeah, you could probably conceal either one over a heavy-duty jacket or a flannel like I'm wearing, something like that. It all depends on what you need for your capabilities, though. What the situation is, what you're going into, what the threat level's like, a lot of stuff. So that's one of those, it depends. So it's a disagreement, not a disagreement. Yeah, the chest rig is still thinner. Even with mag pouches on it, it's still thinner than a plate carrier typically. I agree with him about the capabilities of it and the stuff he talked about, kind of. But yeah, that was my take on that. All right, next one is rucking and or long range stuff. Kind of covered that before, but chest rig wins out all day long, every day, because mobility and speed. That's very important. Yeah, and the effect on you and wearing you out quicker, reducing your endurance, all those kind of things. All right, next category he talked about was vehicular use in a vehicle, plate carrier. And he would say that, and it depends. Depends on what you're doing when you get to your destination and you get out of that vehicle. If you're using that vehicle to get like way back up in the mountains to perform some kind of partisan guerrilla warfare mission, then maybe chest rigs. But traditionally speaking, plate carriers win out in that. Why? Mainly because civilian vehicles are thin-skinned and they're highly visible. They're much more visible than individual people walking around. They're easier to see, they're bigger, they're noisier, and they're thin-skinned. So thin-skinned meaning not armored. So if you're in a vehicle that's not armored, being higher visibility, higher signature, all that stuff like that, you're going to have a much more likely chance of having somebody engage you, which means having plates would be a really good thing. The thing is then if you have to ditch the vehicle and escape and evade, then you run into the weight, mobility, speed. So, but, I mean, you can ditch your plate carrier. But then, what do? I would just take the seat holders out, throw them in my pockets, throw anything I need in my pockets, and then ditch this, if I had to. But, like I said, it depends. All right, so that's vehicular use. Assault. This is one where I disagree. I want to elaborate a little bit more. It depends on what you're assaulting. If you're in an urban conflict, or if it's a CQB thing, CQC, or if it is a very, very high threat environment, plate carrier. But if you're assaulting in like an ambush situation, a hit and run situation, chest rig. So this is one that it depends. He didn't really go that much in depth on some of these things. But yeah, hit and run, chest rig, CQB, urban, plate carrier, very high threat environment. Plate carrier always wins in a very high threat environment because you want that protection. You don't want to die, right? Okay. All right. Another thing he talked about, the next topic was dangerous times, meaning SHTF, WROL, whatever, the end of the world as we know it type thing we prepare for as preppers. He said chest rig because it's not necessarily an immediate high threat environment. Just the ability to have some extra equipment on you, to carry it, to be able to use it, to have it available for you in convenient locations is important. So yeah, I agree there. And that's the low to mid threat area. But a high threat area, then we go back to the same thing, plate carrier, because you may not need the mobility, but you need the protection. All right, so to wrap it up a little bit, there's other things I got to talk about, but plate carrier or chest rig. Well, my final answer is it depends. It does. It depends. For preppers, though, I tend to gravitate towards plate carriers. Why? Because most preppers are not going to be guerrilla partisan fighters fighting in the mountains where they need that speed and mobility. Most preppers are going to be defending their home, their neighborhood, their homestead, whatever. So they're going to be keeping it close, and if they have to put stuff like this on, it's probably going to be a higher threat environment. So, but with a caveat of if you can't afford it, well, then that's a no-brainer. If you are one of the people that's capable of out there running and gunning, then chest rig maybe. But if money is not an option, obviously have both, or have several of both. I have several of both, and different loadouts for different weapon systems. So one of the things also comes down to is what's your fitness level. I'm a fit person. I take fitness seriously. So I don't mind carrying all this stuff. And the poly plates I have are really light. I mean, this setup's actually not that heavy. I can operate all day in this. So that's a concern also. So take your fitness seriously. All right, and another thing, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the consideration of urban or rural. If you are urban, then I would say plate carrier. If you live in a city, maybe even a suburb, then plate carrier. I would probably recommend in most situations. If you are rural, out living in low population dense areas, you could probably get away with a chest rig unless it becomes a really high threat environment. So the best answer is to have both, because we as preppers know that one is none, two is one, and that redundancy in our preps is important. So, and having the flexibility to adapt your kit due to the mission, due to the threat level, all that kind of stuff is also very important. So I hope you guys liked the video. I liked his video. I enjoyed it. He made some good points. I just wanted to elaborate on it a little bit and sort of disagree, mostly agree, but a little bit of disagreement there with Magic Prepper. Good dude. Like I said, go subscribe to him, comment on his videos, all this stuff like that. I threw up a comment on his video yesterday about the fact that this video will be posting today. So hopefully people will check it out and see a little bit more elaboration on the topic coming from military experience and just maybe a different point of view. So I love you guys. Have a wonderful day and blessings to you and yours.